Hello and welcome to another ROBO Deck Designer video. I'm Paul and today I'm going behind the scenes and creating a new deck plan for the ROBO Deck Designer website. So come join me and we'll do this one together. I'm not sure how long it's going to take to do this one, but I expect it will be probably finished in about 4 weeks time. So I'm starting now. It's 9 days out from Christmas, a wet rainy day before Christmas with the traffic light system. So yeah, just to see how we go anyway. The first thing I start with is a sketch of the deck on paper. It's very simple, but hey, you have to start somewhere. So here is my sketch. It's just a basic rectangular deck between 1500mm and 700mm high and has exterior stairs for the side furthest away from the house. I'm also working on another deck at the same time which is half complete, but for this video we'll just focus on deck design number 100. Before I create any programming code, I really need to create a 3D model of each of the different shaped decks. So the next step is to look at the building code about the joist size, the leacher, the loader dimension and also the angle of the bracing. It's the 3.6mm wide deck that concerns me the most because I'm just not sure if that's going to fit into the building code regulations or not, but hey, we'll give it a go. With the decks of heights between 700 and 1500mm, I usually use 200 by 50mm joists, 150 by 50 double bearers, 400mm maximum spacing of the joists, and a maximum span of 1300mm of the bearers between the posts with 175mm overhangs at the end. I start off looking at the bearer table from NZS 3604 using the previous mentioned sizes. This gives me a loaded dimension of 3000mm. With a deck being 3.6 metres wide, I need a span of 3425mm. So I start by looking at the loaded dimension table and the maximum span is 4575mm. So this arrangement is fine so far. I also look at the size of the ledger and what span this can support. Looking at NZS 3604, I find both size ledgers or stringers can support a 4000mm span as long as the fasteners are not more than 1200mm apart. So this one's fine also. With the joist sizing again, we look to NZS 3604 and here we strike a problem. The table states that a joist size of 250mm, the maximum span is 3400mm, where I'm needing a span of 3425. It's slightly out, but I could use larger joists, but it's easier to make the maximum width of the deck 3.5 metres instead of 3.6 metres. The other thing I need to check on is the angle of the bracing, but this isn't a huge concern. For the 700mm high decks I use anchor poles, and for the 800mm upwards decks I use brace poles, but the angle of the bracing must be between 6 and 45 degrees. For this design this works out to be about 10 degrees. If it was a problem, anchor poles could be used for the 800mm high decks. With the maximum width sorted out, it's now time to look at the spacing of the joists. Now this is actually quite a fiddly process. There's stringers to avoid from the steps, there's handrail posts as well to avoid. Some of the joists have to line up with the bracing in the lateral direction, so yeah, very fiddly. So the way I actually work this one here is I actually space it all out on a CAD drawing and just work out where all of the joists are going to go. First of all, I put in the location of where the bracing needs to go and line up the joist with that, and then from there I work out where the handrail posts go and then just fit all the joists in, making sure that they're not more than 400mm apart. Another thing I need to mention is that not all lengths are actually possible. Some of them you've got clashes with the handrail posts and joist locations which just can't move because they're attached to the bracing. So yeah, some lengths are just not possible. It takes a while, but eventually I do end up with a 3D model of each of the different decks. Once the 3D designs are established, then each of the designs are checked to see if anything is wrong and they comply with all the building codes. With every new design I seem to do, there seems to be always a panic moment where everything just goes totally terrible, and the one that's happened today is actually I've got the joists and the bearer tables mixed up, and just thinking that all my decks are all completely wrong where they're not, and so it's a real panic time, but it only lasts about 5 minutes and I realise my mistakes. I've just had a look at the designs again, and there's something else which I think I could just improve quite considerably. I'm moving the whole bearer back towards the house by 15mm, so the ends of the joists have got something to rest on without any support from the fasteners. But the problem with that is that all the designs have been done so the largest decks are 3.5 metres wide, so I could have probably made it 3.6, but things are just so far down the modelling track that I'm not going to change it. It's just easier for me just to keep it as it is, but it's still within the building codes anyway. Okay, so now it's time to check some of the 3D designs, and it's not good news. There's mistakes all over the place. I can't believe the number of mistakes I've actually made, but things will get sorted out, and there's bearers in the wrong place, there's problems with the bracing just too far down towards the ground on some of the decks. One of the decks actually had the wrong size bearer for the just that short little bearer by the top of the steps, but yeah, things will get sorted out, but there's just a few of the mistakes, and unfortunately it's just part of the design that when you create something that things just don't always go right, so things will get sorted out anyway. Also, creating the blocking along the wall, that's a very fiddly process, and that quite often takes quite a few goes just getting that right, just making sure that the blocking actually lines up all the joists, but yeah, it's getting there. Okay, so now it's the 21st of January. My predictions how long it would take to create this new deck was on the 15th of December, about 4 weeks, and my predictions were way out. It's taken quite a bit more effort than expected. Half the battle is actually getting the 3D designs right before I start doing any coding, and it's just running behind in my YouTube schedule. I'll split this video into 2 videos and cover the coding in the second part. But now I'm happy with the 3D designs. There's one small slight problem I've got to sort out, but yeah, it's a lot better than what it was in the past. Thanks for watching this video, and don't forget to subscribe, and also just look out for the second video coming out where I take this 3D model of this deck and actually create it into some programming code and putting it on the website, the ROBO Deck Designer website. So thanks for watching again. Thanks.